Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Haunted Horses album, Watcher. These guys are a rock duo hailing from Seattle. They have dropped some singles, an EP, they've got a KEXP performance as well under their belts, and now this new full-length album. And basically what they deliver on the 9 tracks here are a heavy combination of numerous musical styles, including a little bit of post-punk on the darker side of that genre, industrial rock, noise rock, encapsulated into this very chilling, cavernous atmosphere. There's definitely a vibe, a sonic vibe that they bring to the table that reminds me of old Swans records, as well as maybe a little bit of Bauhaus or Killing Joke, and if we're going to put a few contemporaries into the mix, maybe a band like Pop 1280, like their debut record, as well as Ice Age when they're incredibly slow and depressing and at their most cacophonous. It is a very primal and overwhelming 25 minutes of music with heavy drumbeat after heavy drumbeat in lockstep with incredibly grimy and harsh guitar riffs. Occasionally what sounds like a sinister keyboard pops in, and there are these very distant, disembodied vocals moaning out in the background in a very eerie way. Delivered mostly in a deadpan style, occasionally reaching up into this screamed intensity. And all of these sounds combined on this record really do have a huge presentation. This is a very loud album. From the very first guitar wail and bellowing, the record is pretty ear-shattering. It kicks off with the song Numinous, which feels a bit like an intro to the next song, GOETIA, which has this very spacey 1-minute track following it, which feels a bit like an outro. It's like you've got these 3 songs, which together really feel like one song. But the middle point of these 2 tracks, GOETIA, is just the thrilling, energetic, blood-pumping, and adrenaline-filled highlight. These driving guitar riffs are just pumping and pumping and pumping with these skittering, noisy, just bright, brittle glitches happening on every 4th bar. And even though the riff is essentially kinda just a couple notes switching back and forth between one another, Haunted Horses is throwing so much noise and so much sound at this mix, it's almost actually a fulfilling song. The band does sort of layer things a bit more with tone on the track The Moon's March, with some keyboards that I like a lot, even if I do wish that the vocals were a bit more upfront. I see the appeal in just how cavernous and distant and deadpan the vocals are on this record, but they do kind of lose their appeal after a while, I think. I get much more of a thrill from the odd vocal samples and the vitriolic shouting on the track Children of Light. I love the explosive shots of dissonance and guitar distortion around the middle point of this track. It's a moment where I feel like Haunted Horses really shifts themselves from being a rock band to just some kind of primal noise act. Like, these are the kinds of terrible sounds that would be created if rock instrumentation had thrived in the Stone Age. I love the drum beat on this track too. Really busy, way more detailed than some of the other beats on here. And I feel like in order to keep things very just the drummer does hold himself back at points to kind of play into the aesthetic of this record. But still, there are songs like The Void where the beat is oddly danceable. The closing track on here actually features a beat that feels a little danceable too. And it's spots like this that make me feel like maybe the drummer's a little more versatile than he would seem on the surface playing these really loud, crushing noise rock songs. It certainly feels that way on the song Luminance, which has this very scattered drum beat with these hi-hats jutting out in every single direction. But when it comes to the guitar work on this track, it's just not a moment that sticks out to me in comparison with everything else on here. While I think Haunted Horses has a fantastic sound, they are amazingly heavy. I'm really being crushed by this record. I just wish they would diversify their sound a little bit sometimes. The second to last track on here was a bit of a surprise to me because the guitar chords here are actually pretty harmonious in comparison with many of the other songs here. And moments like that, moments that really stick out to me and feel different from every other spot on this album, are sometimes what I feel like this album lacks. That and length, because I would love to hear these guys go at it with a few more songs in the track list, but still, this is a really enjoyable release. If you're into that cacophonous industrial rock, then do give this thing a listen. I'm feeling a decent to strong 7 on this LP. Transition, but if you've given a listen to this thing, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Haunted Horses, Watcher, forever.